Import of service. IODR service other than IODR service by non-NTU non-NTU non-taxable okay and taxable FCM other than NTU taxable under RCM by non-taxable resident exempted by other person other than taxable RCM basis. RCM basis rules mechanism OIDR other than though it is online information database access and retrieval, example Amazon Prime, Netflix, online interaction games. The service mediated through internet on outcomes calls OID service. NTR non-resident recipient OID non-taxable NTR recipient exempted but import of service but by the non-taxable online recipient any person who is an unregistered person importing from this taxable other than business OID will pay the tax. OID will pay the tax. And not taxable recipient is that individual by unregistered person imported service by an personal purpose charitable transaction 28 ABM income tax in 1961 and importing a service by charitable activities governed by the registered person and unregistered person importing service other than a business commerce. When the GST payable is RCM basis threshold limit is 20 lakhs and 10 lakhs is not applicable and the person liable to pay GST in recipient has been compulsory get registered. Import of service other than ODR RCM basis other than a non-taxable register they need to compulsory get registered. Also the supply of OIDR supplies are provided located outside India and making supply NTR and compulsory get registered under section 24. IGST paid is available according to the recipient of service it's much a recipient engaged in the making the taxable supplies. Construction service not applicable to the work contract service. The construction of individual houses and as irrespective of the floor size not on the complex not on the part of complex exempted individual house and the house occupied only for the family. So construction service not applicable or contract construction individual house with respect of floor is not applicable. Construction repair alternation renovation of following project exempted housing of all mission Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana exempted. 1/3 of the gross value of the flat is exempted towards a land and undivided share of land when the gross value is included in the value of land. Transfer of development rights of floor space index and transfer development rights of the landowner to promote a building exempted. Long-term lease of the land 30 years or more by the land owned promoter building exempted. Provided land is used for construction residential flats and that flats are booked before the complete certificate. And it's exempted. Exemption with respect to inward supply of FSI, TRI, long-term lease. In only the liability, in such a liability to pay GST is promoter builder RCM. Value of inward supply is equal to 18% floor area of resident flat to booked before completion of certificate of first certificate of occupation earlier. Total number of floor that is taxable. Illustration: the value of inward supply TDR FSI is 10 lakhs and GST payable is 1,80,000. Floor area of residential is 28,000 square feet. Total floor area project is 50,000 square feet. The GST exemption to the inward supply is 1,80,000 into 20,000 1,05,000. GST payable RCM is 1,80,000 minus 1,70,000. 79 to 100 payable RCM. Latest CBS circular GST is applicable to annuity paid in the construction of road where a certain portion of construction is receivable upfront while remaining payments through the default payments spread over years. Individual advocates other than the senior advocates or firm associates. Individual service are provided to the business entity. No, if individual business entity provided to business entity, no exempted yes or no. Whether the individual advocates or firm associates, no, no. Then whether the yes or no exempted. If no, no, it is whether it is state commerce center UTR LAGA yes no exempted. No, no. Whether that in the annual turnover the previous threshold limit registration no, not taxable RCM basis yes no exempted. The service provided by a senior advocate to individual advocate or a firm of an advocate is not exempted. Senior advocate to individual is not exempted. In this case, in ultimate litigation application petition shall be deemed to be recipient. The advocate individual firms can arbitrate is not required to get registered. They are exclusively engaged in supplies and covered under the RCM section 23 override section 24. Senior advocates arbitrate service. When a service is provided to a business entity, no, exempted yes no. Whether to central government, state government, union territory, LNGA yes no exempted. No, no. Whether to in the annual turnover the previous year crosses the threshold limit yes no exempted is less than greater than taxable in RCM. Exemption under the IGST law. Both supplier of the service and recipient of the service located outside India, such as said service is exempted, even if place or supplies in India. However, an exemption is not available in the case of transportation of goods by vessel bound the outside India to India. Such import of such goods is liable to pay GST on the transportation service. Service provided by a tour operator to foreign tourists in relation to the tour conducted wholly outside India. A tour operator service is an intermediate service that is a place of supplies in location of supplier, even though the location of supplier or place of supplies in India. In this case, such a supply is exempted. Supply provided by the tour operator, foreign tour are related to the tour conducted partly in India, partly outside India. Now, with respect to the party conducted outside India, complete follows the total consideration number of days outside India by number of days in India. Number of days into total concentration into 50% or whichever is lower. The spent as time was consider a full day or a time spent less than total consider half day. A service provided by the intermediate located as a service provided by intermediate when located in both supplier and recipient of goods outside the taxable territory. Miscellaneous exempted service transfer of going concern whole independent part, therefore supply of service associated with the transit cargo Nepal to Bhutan and both to and from the convert and exemption as per the CBA rule if the cargo container returns empty. Exempted service by way of transfer service by way of collection and providing news by an independent journalist, independent journalist and Press Trust of India, United News of India exempted. Service by a public library by way of lending books, publications or any other knowledge enhancing content material exempted. Service by an organization or a public service by an organization to any person or any person respect of business exhibition held outside India exempted. Service by way of public convention such as provision of facility of bathroom, washroom, laboratories, utilitarian toilets exempted. Service by a way to access road and prior or a bridge or payment of toll gate exempted. Overloading charges of toll plazas also exempted. Higher toll charges for not having FASTag also exempted. Payment of annual toll charges not permitted. Services by a particular performance artist in a folk or classical art form of music and dance or theatre as amount charging is up to 1,001 lakh for the performance excluding service provided by such artists and some band ambassadors etc. exempted. Service by way of training and coaching of recreational activities related to art and culture by for an individual or sports and charity institution exempted. Satellite launch service applied by the Indian Space Research Organization or Antrix Corporation and New Space Indian Limited exempted. Composition scheme particular CS and composition scheme under section 1011, composition scheme under section 1020 UA. When applicable, annual turnover is less than 1.5 crores, 75 lakhs in case of special category states. Annual turnover less than 150 lakhs. To must applicable manufacturer, traders, supplies, food and other food service. However, they are provided such service up to 10% of turnover in the previous as such, or whichever is higher. 10% of turnover which was higher. Manufacturer, trader and other service provider. Benefit 1%, 0.5 on the total turnover in case of manufacturer, and 5% on the total turnover in the case of supply of food service provider. 1% on the taxable turnover in case of tender trader service provider up to limit. 6% in case of traders, others 3% total turnover. Current year reduced to 1.5 crores and 75 lakhs of 50 lakhs. Difference in condition: manufacturers notified goods cannot be put into trader notified goods can opt. 9 regime. And manufacturer of notified goods and suppliers notified cannot be obtained. So notified as in plant masala, tobacco products, ice cream, edible ice, heated water, bricks and proof line can't be up. Notified self not yet notified. MMT and USM, Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, Nagaland, Uttarakhand, Sikhism, Arunachal Meghalaya. Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, Nagaland, Uttarakhand, Sikhism, Meghalaya. What is the meaning of aggregate turnover in determining the eligible turnover composition scheme? The aggregate turnover will be computed on the basis of turnover on all the Indian bases, and will include the value of taxable supply, example supplies and export made by all persons expand, but it would exclude the inward supplies and the such mechanism of GST, CGST, SGST, UTGST, GST and companies. Interest income will not be considered in the part of calculating aggregated turnover as well as the turnover as a state of UT, applicable only in the composition scheme but not on the registration. Person opting for composition scheme can provide service up to 10% turnover. The person who opts for pay tax under section 10(1) may apply services other than the supply of food and value not exceed 10% turnover in state and union territory or proceeding with financial year 5 lakhs whichever is higher. While computing the value of services for determining the limit of 10% turnover at the previous year, 5 lakh whichever is higher, exempted service may have exempted deposit loan advances as far as considered represent the VF interest discount shall not be taken into account. 10% turnover of 5 lakh whichever is higher. Because why? And taxable rate applicable, the rate of services 1% in the taxable turnover is 0.5%, 5%, etc. Other than procedural provision, already registered applying the CM2 before commencement of financial year, not already registered applying for GST or 1 and select composition scheme anytime during the financial year, displaying composition taxpayer in every notice signboard displayed on the principal place of business and every additional place of business, file quarterly return after along with the payment of CBM 18th of the month following every quarter. GST after composition scheme is also payable along with the CBM 08. The GST payable on the value of a bill of supply during the quarter plus advance GST received from the current quarter put into next quarter. GST payable on the bill of supply during the current quarter plus advance received during the current quarter put into next quarter minus advance received in the previous quarter put into current quarter. Annual final return on GST for 30th April of successful financial year. Composition schemes, I can send one not applicable to say SN, SIN, or CM. Service provider, whether taxable exempted other than restaurant service and service up to one limit alone. Non-resident taxable turnover, intermediate supply goods service over taxable exempted, non-taxable supplier of goods and service in e-commerce operator. RCM up to section 9 for not paid stock held on the date. An option for a composition scheme. Casual taxable person manufacture certain notified goods, ice cream, edible oil, pan masala, tobacco and tobacco products, aerated water, some bricks and fruits. Validation and composition leave. Condition satisfy one option remaining valid. Condition not satisfy pay tax on a normal taxpayer issue tax invoice for the taxable supply. Within 7 days from the filing, the GST or CMP 04 was initiated. Self withdrawal. Before the date of withdrawal, file the application for GST CMP 04. A proper officer can reason for belief. Taxpayer not eligible for contravening the hidden rules. Issue a show cause notice in RJ form GST CP 05. Within the 15 days of taxpayer must be filed the reply and a form GST CPM 06. Issue an order with 30 days of the form GST CPM. Accepting the reply, denying the composition leave. A statement of form GST ITC 101 with 30 days of the intimation application order furnishing details of stock input contains semi-finished and finished goods and capital goods. Overview of form involved. Form purpose and due date. GST CMP 01. Intimation of willingness to opt for a scheme for registered person prior to commencement of financial year. GST ITC 01. Details of input lying in the stock, input of WIP, finished good lying in the stock and capital goods and be filed to the person filing the form GST CMP 01 for reversal of ITC stock code. Within 60 days from the date of commencement of financial year. CMIT. GST CMP 04 withdrawal of application scheme 7 days from 7 days from the occurrence of event. GST IT 01 details of the input lying in the stock, input and WIP finished good lying in the stake and capital goods for the availment of ITC and low in the stock amount and contravention from the composition scheme and normal scheme within 30 days of the date of convention. GST CBM B05 Chokas notice on contravention of rules and act on the contravention of act rules. GST CMP 06 reply to Chokas notice within 15 days of receipt of notice. CMP GST CMP 07 issue of order within 30 days on the receipt of reply. CMP 08 return of file by a person opting for compulsion scheme within 18 days from the date of end of the quarter. 18 days. 18. The denial of compulsion scheme on the account of non-filing of conditions specified therein as prospective and retrospective. In the case of denial of option to pay tax under the compulsion leave of the tax authorities, the effective date of the denial shall be filed in, including any retrospective date and as may be determined by tax authorities. However, such effective date shall not be prior to the date of contravention of provision of the CGST and CGST and SGST rule. When the advisable to opt for 10 to A, registered person whose aggregate turnover of the preceding year does not exceed 50 lakhs and who is exclusively engaged in supply of services other than restaurant service. Advisable and who is engaged in the supply of service other than restaurant service along with the supply of goods and restaurant service exceeding 5 lakhs current year. Meaning of various turnover ATO determine eligibility of compulsion scheme. Turnover determine 10% limit to service turnover payment of GST. Previous year turnover GST under the compulsion current year, which is all India. The state union territory taxable supplies included exempted supply included interest on loan excluded or non-taxable supply included not applicable, and export goods and service included not applicable. Turnover payment of GST and interstate supply included not applicable. Inward supplies under RCM excluded. Taxes that is a GST group excluded. Free registration turnover included but excluded not applicable. These supplies cannot be made under the current year if they made the person disqualified from the compulsion scheme. Segment registration legality section 22 person liable for registration, section 23 person not liable for registration, section 24 compulsory registration in certain cases. Procedure section 25 procedure for registration, section 25 deemed registration, section 26 special provision relating to casual taxable person and non-resident taxable person. Special provision section 28 amendment of registration, section 29 cancellation suspension of registration, section 30 revocation and cancellation of registration. Threshold limit for northeastern state Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, Nagaland 10 lakhs for both goods and services. For UTSTM Uttarakhand, Sikhism, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh and Meghalaya, Pondicherry 20 lakhs for goods and service. Other state 20 lakhs for service and 40 lakhs for goods. Important points: the ATO computed on all India basis and not on the state base. Annual turnover. The limit of 40 lakhs is applicable only in the case of exclusive supply of goods. For persons engaged both exclusive supply of service and supply of goods, and the limit is 20 lakhs and 10 lakhs be considered. If the supplier is made from multiple state, and if taxable supplies are made from the special category state, only 10 lakhs limit is applicable. If the supply is made from the multiple state and is a state of USTAM, Andhra Pradesh, Sikhism, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Meghalaya and Pondicherry, it is also one of the states threshold limit is 20 lakhs. The limit of 40 lakhs is not applicable in the following cases: person who voluntarily got registered, person who was compulsorily required to be registered in section 24. Compulsory registration: the person making a supply of ice cream, edible oil, pan masala, tobacco product, bricks and trophy types. Liable for registration under section 22(1). As ATO during the financial threshold, as I discussed above. Exemption for registration section 23. Exclusively engaged in making exempted supplies, including non-taxable supplies. Agriculture to extent of cultivation of land. Exclusively engaged in the RCM basis. If a person making both exempt and taxable supplies, then the above exemption is not available. Compulsory registration. The registration under the earlier indirect tax regime section 212. Transfer of business section 273. Compulsory transfer of merchant on the scheme of amalgamation, merger, demerger section 204. They are made applicable cancellation of registration if the aggregate turnover falls below the threshold limit. Compulsory registration section 24. Interstate supplier of taxable goods other than aircrafts, casual taxable person other than handicraft, recipient under RCEM section 93. EQ liable to pay GST section 958. Housekeeping, accommodation, transportation of passenger, eating, foods and residence. ECO liable for reduct and TCO section 52. Agent making a supply of goods and services on behalf of the supplier. TDS reduction section 51. Input taxes distributor are compulsory. Like reception RCM compulsory. Casual taxable person other than character class employee. OID or supplier located outside India and making supplier to non-taxable ordinary resident or non-taxable ordinary resident or any unregistered person supply services for other than business and commerce. Non-taxable taxable non-resident taxable person supply registered through e-commerce industry irrespective of the shareholder limit persons are liable to get registered. Section 23 over section 22 and section 23, 24 and 25, 22, 4 and 22, 4. Section 24 over section 21. Procedure for registration section 25. Form of registration, application registration, section 2, acknowledgement, section 3, notice for discrimination, section 4, reply to notice, RAG 5, rejection of application, RAG 6, certification registration. Application for registration to be submitted within 30 days on the date of liable to registration. RAG 1 to RAG 2 in immediate, RG 1 30 days, RAG to 1 to 3 7 working days, 1 to 3 application registration acknowledgement immediately on the reply to notice 7 days like 1 to 3 7 days and 1 to 6 7 days reply to note RAG 6 certification 7 days, so RAG 3 to 4 7 days, RAG 4 to 5 6 working days. Bank details can be furnished within 45 days on the date of registration, due date of filing of GST 3B which was Aadhaar authentication of new application. Aadhaar number is assigned, Aadhaar number is not assigned. Individual and a person other than shall offer alternate via means of registration identification. Other than the risk-based biometric authentication, every individual application and applicant other than individual undergo Aadhaar authentication, Aadhaar or furnish a proof of possession of Aadhaar. Risk-based biometric-based Aadhaar authentication pilot project Gujarat. And the Gujarat application opted for authentication of Aadhaar number and identify on the common portal based on the data analytics and risk portal. Undergo biometric based authentication and give photograph along with the verification of the original copy of the document as one of the notified facility setup. Aadhaar authentication already registered. Aadhaar number is assigned. Registered person failed to undergo authentication of Aadhaar, furnish a proof of official of Aadhaar number and furnish the alternative viable means of identification. Registration allotted shall be deemed to be invalid. Aadhaar number is not assigned. The registered person shall offer alternative and viable means of identification. Shall furnish Aadhaar roll number and bank passbook, voter ID, passbook and driving license. Aadhaar authentication option 1. Aadhaar authentication after submitting a part B RAG01 authentication link will be sent to the mobile number. And option 2, the Aadhaar authentication after submission application, the officer will conduct the physical verification of place and 30 days application. Successful Aadhaar authentication OTP and registration will be granted 7 days of authentication as deemed to be registered. Don't require to write verification if a fails authenticate via Aadhaar within 15 days. Application deemed to be submitted with expiry of 15 days. Verification after conducted and the verification 30 days. After physical verification of POB present, registration can be granted. The public officer fails to issue the SCN within 30 days, application will be deemed registered. If the SCN registration on 03 rise within the specific period, then application will need to file a clarification. After filing, clarification officer shall grant registered to the 7 days of the deemed RC. Other authentication is mandatory, can be filed within 15 days from the submission of part RAG01. Data of authentication 15 days of submission of part B RAG1 with earlier and deemed to be a data submission of application. Physical verification shall be conducted the 30 days of submission application, 15 days of part B or RAG01. Authentication is not done. Applicability authentication important notification. Individual sole property citizen of India and not applicable to non-citizens of India. Achieve Karta, co-partner not required. Firms, authorized manager and another partner required. Company board and authorized signature members other than not required. Government, central government, state government, local authority, central body not applicable. Others UPA and regulation. The above persons are not required to undergo Aadhaar authentication even though they have already registered, but other than the above they have already registered, they should undergo authentication. Deemed registration. Aadhaar authentication opted yes, Aadhaar authentication completed within 15 days, notice issued to RAG01 reply in 7 days or base and within 7 working days the date of reply registration not granted. Deemed registration based on the risk of parameter required verification, yes, the 30 days application registration not granted. The deemed registration no, within 7 days of data the data of authentication registration granted. Aadhaar authentication completed no, and 60 days expiry of 15 days registration is not granted. Aadhaar authentication obtained no, within 30 days application registration not granted. limit for making application for registration, situation liable for registration, time limit, section CTP NT non-resident, liable for registration, starting a business, time limit at least 5 days before starting a business. Others starting a business within 30 days. Registration under the earlier law 0117. Transfer of business, amalgamation, demerger by order of High Court. Date of certificate of incorporation used by the ROC with the transfer or the data certificate. Other case, date of transfer. Any other person, date of annual turnover, cost of limit. Deemed registration under section 26. If a person is registration under the CGST and the person is deemed to be registered under the SGST and UTGST, same applicable in the case of cancellation. Special provision relating to the CTP and NTP section 27. Registration valid maximum 90 days plus 90 days. On sufficient case has been shown, said taxable person PU makes and said person 90 days on the form further PTS not exceed 90 days. Advance tax to be paid in the same time of registration. Extra money for extension period. At the time of submission of application of registration, made an advance deposit of tax from the amount equal to the estimated tax liability, net liability, that is after adjustment of estimate CTC, the period of which registration is sought. Where an extension is sought, the additional amount of tax equal to the estimated tax liability, the extension period shall be deposited. Advance tax shall be credited in electronic cash ledger and shall be adjusted against the final liability determined. Distinguishing point: casual taxable person, non-resident taxable person. A person who is occasionally undertaking a transaction involves supply of goods and services both in the course of furtherance of business, whether the principal agent or any other capacity in the state unit and where there is no fixed point of business, undergoes transaction in the course of furtherance of business, has a PAN application REG 01, files a return under REG GST 1 and GST 3P. Non-taxable person, non-resident taxable person. Any person who is occasionally undergoes transaction involves supply of goods and services or both within the principal agent as any manner who has no fixed base of business or residence in India. No such requirement, does not have a PAN. He may take a registration with the passport application RAG 09 and files return under GSTR 5. Amendment of registration and GST section 28. Amendment registration certificate shall be stand amended after date of amendment. Non-core file submission of the application for the amendment for the common portal deemed approval. Core fields: name of the builders, partners of the business, additional place of business, top management details, partners, Karta, managing partner, and board committee trustee. Approval of PO required. Such amendment shall take effect to the date of occurrence of events and warrant such amendment. The procedure of amendment registration section 13. Form GST RAG 14, application for amendment registration particulars, time limit within the period of 15 days of the changes. Form RAG 03, notice of seeking clarification, time limit within the period of 15 working days, date of submission. GST RAG 14 submission. RAG 04, submission of clarification of additional information, time limit within the 7 days working days of the recipient notice. GST RAG 03, form GST RAG rejection of application, time limit within 7 days from the recipient of submission of assessee. GST RAG 04. Form GST RAG order of amendment within 15 days from the date of application, 7 working days on the date of supply, else deemed amendment. Cancellation of registration. Application of registration, sudo motu cancellation officer, form GST RAG, transfer and discontinuance of business, change in constitution of business, taxable person no longer liable to register. Other authentication mandatory for the registered person filing application for cancellation registration. Sudo motu cancellation officer SEN, contravention provision of action rules. A person opting for composition scheme is not filed the annual return GST and the financial year within 3 months of the date of due date. Registered person other than above has not filed a return for 6 consecutive months and 2 consecutive quarters. Cancellation and registration obtained by fraud cancellation. Contravention provision cancellation, obtaining voluntary registration and non-commandments within 6 months cancellation. Even the TCS, TDS or deductor can make application for the cancellation of registration. Meaning contravention of provision leading to the cancellation of registration does not conduct any business or the declaration of place or wrong business. Contravention of provision leading to cancellation. The issue invoice and bill of supply violation provision, wrong invoice cancellation, violating the provision of anti-profiting cancellation, do not furnish bank details of cancellation, avail the ITC contravention section 16 creditors available wrong ITC cancellation, liability of GSTR 1, liability of GSTR 3B for more than one tax period, ITC GSTR 3B is greater than ITC of GSTR 2B for one more tax quotas, cancellation, does not pay 1% of the gross liability through electronic transaction of when monthly turnover crosses 50 lakhs. Then rule 86B cancellation. Suspension of registration. Once the registered person has availed the cancellation of registration or the proper officer seeks to cancel registration, the proper officer may suspend the registration during the pendency of preceding election on cancellation of registration filed by such a registered person. Suspension of registration cannot be without offering reasonable opportunity to be heard. The procedure for cancellation of registration. Application for cancellation of registration. Then proper officer satisfy the registration is liable. No. Proper officer shall issue one form GSTR 17 and the form GST furnished reply GSTR 18 17. No order of cancellation form or GST 1. Proper officer satisfy within the replies notification, order of cancellation and draw proceeding for cancellation. Time limit for prescribed rules under the CBI key direction. It should be completed within 30 days from the date of show cause notice. Certification and time period. A registered person has applied for cancellation of registration. Registration shall deem to be suspended from the date of suspension of obligation and the date from which cancellation is sought, and even later pending or completion of proceeding for cancellation. Now, the cancellation of registration has been initiated by the department with the effect on the date of determination of him pending of completion of proceeding for cancellation of registration. Registered person whose registration has been suspended above shall not make any taxable supply. That he cannot make taxable supply but cannot issue tax invoice during the period of suspension and shall not require to furnish any return under section 39 GSTR 3B. The suspension of registration shall be deemed to be revoked upon completion of cancellation and processing by the proper officer. SCN for cancellation registration on filing return. Suspension initiated, the return filed and prior apprehension, automatic revocation and conclusion, cancellation order and dropping of SCN.